Hi, this is John Linneball from John Linneball Tutoring, and this is College Admissions, How to Write the Open and College-Specific Application Essays. Here's my contact information if you'd like to get in touch with me, but let's get started. College-specific essays fall into only a few categories, and what I mean are essays that aren't part of the Common Application or the UC application. It's just specific to a single college. So they only fall into a few categories because the colleges are always asking questions designed to seek the same things: your persistence in the face of adversity, your leadership, your involvement in the community, and your academic and non-academic interests and passions. And they're also interested in why you want to go to their specific college because they want to know. They want information. Who are you?
We want information. Information.
Who are you?
Okay, so why do they want to know? Well, why do they want to know about your perseverance, leadership, ambition, and community involvement? It's easy. As a university student, you're both the customer and the product as well as a means of production. If you've watched my UC and Common App videos, you've already seen this, but it's very similar to the Marxist idea that the entrepreneur in capital owns a factory or some other means of production and then uses workers to make profit for themselves mostly. That's actually a pretty good model of anything that makes money, including a nonprofit where the profit is just reinvested back into the business, so there's no particular profit, like most colleges and universities. Trust me, you don't want to go to a for-profit university. Anyway, when you are a student, you are not just a consumer of the product, you are the product, and you are also something that helps produce education, so your means of production, as we'll discuss in a second. Okay, so you're probably asking, hey John, how can I be a customer, product, and means of production? Are you crazy? Yeah, I'm a little crazy, but I have a solid point here. Obviously, you're spending your and your parents' money, and you're probably borrowing money to pay for a college education, so you're a customer because you're paying for a product, that is the education. You are the product in a few senses, and one, you'll be contacted many times after your graduation by the Alumni Association of any college you attend, reminding you of what a great education you received and how you really should pay it forward with a donation. Second, if you end up being rich and famous, or at least famous, your college will use you to publicize itself. That's right, Tanya Thespian studied drama here before being on television. Third, corporations can and do donate to colleges that they see as feeder schools, so that helps the college survive. I know I've been told that Machiavelli basically said that the main function of any organization is to survive, and definitely any college is going to do things that help it survive as an institution, which just makes sense. Okay, but how are you a means of production, you ask? Well, a college can be defined as a place where people of roughly equal status, or colleagues, meet to discuss ideas. You'll be expected to participate in class discussions, and most likely you'll participate in debates and discussions outside of class, even if you don't particularly feel like it. If you're a teaching assistant or a tutor, you'll be employed by the college to instruct other students. Either way, you'll be contributing to the college educations of your classmates. And students who participate actively in the exchange of ideas improve colleges, so it's no wonder that they seek they seek students who participate in the exchange of ideas out. So colleges do need passionate problem solvers. All colleges and universities need leaders and problem solvers for student activities, athletic teams, debate teams, political organizations, student government, and the like. This means colleges need to seek students who are passionate about various activities, can resolve disputes with other students, can overcome financial and scheduling difficulties, and the like. So what's this got to do with the essay questions? Well, everything, really. They want to know what leadership and problem-solving skills you've developed, since you'll encounter problems when you go to school there. They're going to want to know about your work ethic and drive, so you'll actually bring all these skills to bear in your academic activities as well as your non-academic activities. If you don't work hard and if you don't focus, you're not going to get where you need to be academically, and the college does not want to have to deal with that mess. All colleges, of course, seek diversity. Any good college, anyway, certainly believes that there is strength in diversity. It makes sense since it's hard to have a robust exchange of ideas between people who have virtually identical backgrounds. if everybody's from the Northeast and roughly the same kind of upper middle class background, you're not going to get the same diversity if you're dealing with somebody who's from a foreign country or from the Southwest. And some people are very wealthy, some people are very poor, that kind of thing. So, of course, colleges are going to seek people from different cities, states, countries, people with diverse socioeconomic backgrounds, people with different political and religious beliefs, people with unusual educational experiences, and people with other unusual backgrounds, because steel sharpens steel, as some people put it. You'll be dealing with people with very different viewpoints and beliefs who are just as intelligent as you are, and hopefully that will help you develop your own beliefs and perhaps change the ones that need to be changed and sharpen your ability to think critically. So, thus, it's strongly to your advantage to detail what non-mainstream background and experiences you have, or the experiences you have had, depending on how you want to phrase that. Because the more diverse you are, the more desirable you're going to be to really good colleges. Another reason that they want to know about your outside interests and things like this is because, well, they don't want you to be what admissions officials call a gunner. Here's a picture of Charles Whitman, who was the University of Texas tower gunner. He actually climbed up a tower in 1966 and started plugging away with his rifle at people after he had killed I believe his mother and brother at home. He went to UT and started shooting at people. So they're a little bit worried about that you're going to end up being like Jack Nicholson in The Shining and all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, okay? Don't be that person. Please find ways to relieve stress in a constructive way, in a creative way, through outside interests, okay? Of course, you should also check with the college of your choice regarding essay prompts and deadlines. Yes, this is the same as the other two videos that I just did. Basically, the college's sites will allow you to find the school-specific requirements for each college, including the essays. If the college does use the common application, you can actually go and look up that college and see what the additional requirements are. Please check them online. I would actually go to that college's website if I were you and check it to get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Make sure you check the deadlines, write them down, put them in your phone. Check it twice. I know I've shown up early for appointments because today I had an appointment at 2 and I swear it was for noon and I showed up. Luckily the kid I had an appointment with and his father were home, so we just did it early, but make sure you check and double check and triple check and then schedule it to have it done a day or two in advance, because there's nothing worse than missing a deadline. Nobody's going to want to hear it at that school, certainly not at a competitive college. They're just going to say, oh, too bad, so sad. They'll probably say it in a nicer way than that, but either way, they're not going to consider your application. Unless it's something huge, like you were literally in a coma, something like that. Okay, you can do the same with the UC application. Check with the individual UC schools. UC Irvine and UC Berkeley may have different admissions requirements. If it's a non-UC, non-Common App school, check with the school directly. And as I just said, you should do that with any school at all that you're serious about getting into. You're also responsible for your own application deadlines. Again, just think of it as the most important test you will ever take at that college, since if you fail the test, guess what? You're not going to that college. Okay. Don't lie and don't copy someone else's essay. I really shouldn't have to tell you this, but if you want to attend college, know that every college has an honor code, which may vary from college to college. It's always going to prohibit academic dishonesty. So a college can certainly deny you admission based on plagiarism or other dishonesty, and to be real, that's most likely what will happen if you lie on your essay or copy somebody else's essay. They just won't admit you. They could possibly expel you after the fact or suspend you or whatever if they find out later that you were admitted based on false information. Years ago, I would have said that's probably really unlikely that they would ever find out. But these days, people appear to be playing hardball. You probably have seen the news about some kids whose applications, or acceptances, I should say, to Harvard University were revoked. And it wasn't even over dishonesty. It was over they were in some Facebook group with some very nasty memes in it and things like that people found offensive, and that was somehow submitted to the admissions committee at Harvard. So just know there are people out there playing hardball. please, please, please don't make those people's jobs easier. Don't make yourself a target for somebody who's jealous of you and decides they're going to fix your little red wagon and ruin your admission to a competitive college by saying, well, I know Timmy copied somebody else's essay, or I know Timmy had help from somebody. Don't do it. All right. One way, of course, that you're going to get caught is all essays and applications end up in electronic format, which means most likely you're just going to directly upload these things. Again, since computers can break, make sure you do it before the last day that you can submit it, because if the error is on your end, the college could easily say, I have no proof that there was some technical problem, or it's not our problem. Couldn't you go somewhere else where there was a computer? If the problem is on their end, they might extend the deadline, but don't count on it. But I digress. Look, colleges will either directly upload the papers that you submit, the application, or they'll scan them. And then again, they'll end up in a computerized database. They'll be on file forever. Doesn't take very much space at all to store text information. So it'll be there forever. It'll be on plagiarism checking sites. I know I've had a plagiarism checking site check my blog on my website to make sure that no one was copying the sample essays that I put on there and using them. And if you lie about something you did, rest assured the college will find out. They'll ask your teacher or your boss from your job or volunteer work about your claims, and you won't be accepted. And you might as well know some law firms that defend employers in discrimination lawsuits and wrongful termination lawsuits, at least in the western United States and Ninth Circuit, use a thing called the after acquired evidence defense. So you could get a job, be hired, and be fired for an obviously discriminatory reason or for something that at least looks like it might be discriminatory or wrongful. And they'll say, oh, you lied on your application, therefore it's fraud, therefore we don't even have to address this. This isn't legal advice, but just know that I've read of things such as a waitress getting fired from a brew pub over her, in quotes, lie that she had had good grades in high school and her grades were maybe average. So college, jobs, just don't lie. Just tell the truth and deal with it. An important note, do mention your achievements in your essays. I've had 2 different students ask me the same question. Do I really need to list my achievements, where I live, my activities? They made me list those on a resume and include it with my application. Yes, you should list them because they're relevant to the essays. You don't have to list every single experience you've had, but you need to let the reader get a general idea of the scope of your experiences and achievements. So, I went from beaker washer to lead teaching assistant in my chemistry class, something like that. Why? Well, because you have no idea if the person reading your essay is the same person who's reading the rest of your application. They may have purposely split the application from the essays to make the grading process more random and blind or fair in some way. You don't know that even if the same person is reading your whole application, that they're going to look at your application while they're reading the essay. And the more things you make them look up, the harder you're making their job. You want to make it flowing and smooth and, oh, okay, this person went from here to here, advanced on the job, blah, 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 learned all these great things. Not a general, I've learned all sorts of things about the theater, and I've learned all sorts of things about chemistry and physics, and don't, without listing things, because anybody could put that down. And that could mean lots of different things. So please make it easy for these people. They read many, many essays. Make their jobs easier. It will pay off. This works in most areas of life. The nicer you are to customer service personnel, the nicer you're going to get treated. Be nice to airline personnel. You may end up getting bumped into first class seats a lot more often than if you're a jerk to them. Or you may find, anyway, anytime you need a favor, the nicer you've been to the person who can do you the favor, the more likely you are to get it. It just works that way. And finally, just think of when you were taught to write a business letter. I know when I was in, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, something like that, I wondered, well, why do I have to write my return address on the letter? It's right on the envelope already. The point is Envelopes are separated from letters all the time. They're either purposely thrown out or somebody loses track of it in the mailroom. It falls under something. So then all of a sudden you have this nice letter to whom somebody really important at a business would love to respond, but has no idea where to send the response. You're not getting your response. So that's why you should list your achievements in your essays. Just make it easier for these people to help you. Help them help you. All right, so we can finally get into the open or the school-specific essays. We know that both the Common App and the UC essay prompts give you wide-open questions where you can write an essay about practically anything you want, or even submit an essay you wrote for school, etc. So here are a few suggestions for which you can use an open essay, or suggestions about what you can use an open essay for. So first you could explain in quotes a low GPA by showing you've had less study time than most people because of 1. Participation in a demanding varsity sport. As one student I've worked with, he's on crew. So 6 or 7 days a week he's spending 3 hours practicing for crew. You're not going to be able to study while you're at a 3-hour crew practice. If you're doing volunteer work related to your future career, again, you might have a slightly lower GPA than somebody who doesn't have to do that. If it's a lot lower, you're kind of out of luck. I don't care about varsity practice. I don't care about volunteer work. They're going to say, well, that's too bad. Maybe you need to major in something else then, or maybe you need to go to a less demanding school. Paid work to support your family. This is a big one. I know 20, 30 years ago, I've had this discussion with my father and read things by admissions officials. They look for work, either volunteer or paid. And a mistake a lot of students make is they think, geez, well, working at McDonald's, that's not impressive, or whatever kind of entry-level job you have, or if I'm mowing lawns and getting paid directly by the people. That is important because it shows you're doing something with your time to make some money. And if you're doing paid work because your family is poor and you needed to help support them, that's really important. It shows you're a good person. It shows you're pragmatic. It shows that you do what has to get done. If you did paid work because you wanted a car, that's not as good a reason, but it does at least show you're willing to work for things you want. Again, if that's the reason, then hopefully it's only adversely affected your grades a tiny bit. Because if you're really taking a hit on your grades because, hey, I wanted to buy that new Camaro. No. Okay, high school job, you wouldn't buy a new Camaro, but you know what I mean, to buy a used Camaro. Anyway, so some people say don't mention the D's, divorce, disease, drugs, etc. I'm not one of those people. If they apply, mention them. If you had to help with a sick family member, if you yourself had a disease, if your parents got divorced, if there was drug use in your family, something like that, mention it. I mean, none of those are get into college free, a little play on get out of jail free and Monopoly cards. You're not going to be able to have a C average and get into Harvard and say, well, my mom had a drug problem and my parents got divorced. No, it doesn't work that way. But if you had maybe, a B plus average instead of an A minus average when, there's divorce, disease, drugs, etc., all going on at the same time in your family, yeah, colleges are going to understand, but you have to mention you've had those hardships. They can't read your mind. More uses of the open application essay. You could explain multiple hobbies and pursuits. I know some of these UC questions and Common App questions ask about what your main passions are or what your main passion is. You could talk about a few things. Well, maybe you're also interested in dance, art, comedy, auto restoration, interior design. And you could link to pictures on a website or video, maybe on YouTube, something like that. Mostly what they're looking for here is they're looking for somebody who's spending time creating knowledge, like journal articles, and not somebody who's busy partying or doing something that's not very productive and or possibly destructive.
Oh. Mr. Dorfman.
Hello.
0.2. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Okay, if you've got something that's really bad news that you've had to list on there, I know a lot of colleges do ask if you've ever been arrested, things like that. Explain it. Did you ever get arrested? Just come clean. It would be great if you were arrested for something like a peaceful protest against a war or something like that. That's fine. You know, they will definitely consider you to be a principled person who's willing to take a risk for what he or she believes in. If it wasn't something like that, explain the circumstances, explain what you've learned, how you're going to avoid such problems in the future. Gee, I was really out of control and I had a problem and I go to a 12-step program, blah, blah, blah. I made restitution, whatever the issue is. Maybe I stood up for a friend who got into a fight when I really shouldn't have. Something like that. Or maybe I stood up for my friend who was being bullied and yeah, I ended up getting arrested, but I don't think I did anything wrong. Fine. Then explain that. Anything else scandalous? Were you suspended from school? Were you expelled from school? Is it something that everyone knows about? Maybe it made the local news. Use the same approach as for an arrest. Explain what happened. Take any responsibility you have to for wrongdoing on your part and explain how you've grown up and cleaned up your act. That's all you really can do there. And if you are really sincere about changing your ways and taking care of business, trust me, you'll get into a good college. The college-specific application essay. These fall into a few main categories. 1. What do you want to do with your life? 2. Why do you want to attend our school? 3. What works of art or scholarship have dramatically shaped your life? And then 4, this includes ones like, what experiences have dramatically shaped your life? And other questions you've probably answered if you've answered the Common App or UC application essays.
What do you want to do with your life? I want to rock!
So, what do you want to do with your life? If you're already set on a career path so that you're a planner, in my terms, this is a godsend. Just discuss in detail why you want to be a doctor, lawyer, senator, social worker, etc. Explain. Okay? If you're not, don't panic. Just own it. I am skilled at and interested in a wide variety of academic disciplines and potential careers. I anticipate my studies at whatever university will provide me further guidance in life, including finding the most personally rewarding and socially useful career for me. All right. No matter how flowery the phrases are that you use, the most high-flown poetic language expressing the purest, best intentions, it's meaningless without proof that you've acted in accordance with them. In other words, talk is cheap. You need to show them what you did. So remember how I told you to list your accomplishments, even though they're on your application or resume? Well, that's why. We know that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, as Thomas Edison said. So the best way to show that you're serious is to show them what you did, not just say some really flowery things about what you want to do and what you intend to do. Why do you want to attend our school? This is very closely tied to the what do you want to do with your life question. If you have a definite career goal, you should look for the college that will best help you reach that goal. If you don't have a definite career goal, again, go with the broad range of interests, liberal arts study angle. Engineering schools won't want to hear this sort of thing, but liberal arts colleges will. A degree in the liberal arts does not mean you will work in fast food after you graduate, and a technical degree is not an automatic guarantee of a successful life. Sometimes people with engineering degrees end up driving cabs, and some people who have engineering degrees are miserably unhappy. Liberal arts majors, after a while, end up making about the same as tech graduates in the long run. So don't let people scam you into thinking you have to have a technical degree or mumble, No, you don't. And either way, do your homework. It's really easy to use a search engine to find out about courses available at any college or university and to learn about the faculty who teach the courses. It's not the 1980s anymore. For you planners, why don't you find out about the faculty teaching the courses in your proposed major? Look up the articles they've written and read and understand them. Mention them in your essays. For you non-planners, do the same for fields of study in which you are interested. English, philosophy, foreign languages, pure sciences, math, etc. Look for articles written by the faculty. Read and understand them. You might even have to go to the library. Mention them in your essays. Why? Well, because some colleges increase their rankings by rejecting students who are too well qualified, that is, their grades are too high, etc., and probably won't attend. Yes, colleges know when they're being used as safety schools. So if you want to go there, show them you're serious by showing that you actually went and did the research. So I'll give you an example. Okay, let's say you wanted to major in theater at UCLA. Let's look up the faculty. Okay. Oh, okay. Theater, British spelling. Okay. So undergraduate theater, BA, UC. Okay. The major degree, liberal and professional training. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Undergraduate. Okay. Let's look at the staff here. Okay. Theater, faculty. Okay, let's see. Let's look at J. Ed Ariaza, professor. J. Ed Ariaza has a long and varied history of working on multicultural, cross-disciplinary projects. Let's see if there's anything he's written. Okay, we see he's directed 365 Days, 365 Plays, Voluspa, Dancing in the Forest of Death. Okay, he's a desk teacher at Juilliard School. Okay. I don't see anything here. He's taught at some very nice places. Okay. Let's try Michelle Lou Carriger here. Okay, Michelle Lou Carriger specializes in the historiography of theater, performance, and everyday life. Formerly a lecturer at Queen Mary University of London, her current research concentrates on clothing and performance of self in everyday 19th century life in Britain and Japan, as well as clothing and fashion concerns themselves as historiographical methods for maintaining bodily links to the past. She especially, the ways in which notion of theatricality runs to clothing and fashion simultaneously articulate and mystify the discourses of gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, and modernity in their work upon bodies. Okay, Professor Carriger's first article excerpted from this work, The Unnatural History and Petticoat Mystery of Bolton and Park, a Victorian Sex Scandal and the Theatre Defense, won the 2012 TDR Drama Review Graduate Student Essay Contest Award and appears in the, long-time practitioner of the Japanese way of tea, the tea ceremony. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see if we can get that. Hey, MIT Press Journals. The Unnatural History of Petticoat Mystery, Bolton and Park, a Victorian Sex Scandal. Okay, here's the abstract. The 1870 to 71 tabloid trial of cross-dressers Ernest Bolton and Frederick Park revealed Victorian society wrestling with the concept of theatricality in everyday life. The prosecution sought to expose that traditionally unspeakable act of sodomy was paradoxically encoded in cross-dressing, while the theater defense that the defendants were just amateur actors. Okay, so within British society, theater was both part of the status quo and a haven for disturbing doubleness, conspiracies of meaning that troubled Victorian obsession with truth-telling and the natural. Okay, so you could find this article. Here's the abstract. You could probably go find, let's see if I click on this. Okay, same thing. Anyway, you could probably go find this and say, I would like to attend University of California at Los Angeles because I would be really interested in working with Michelle Lou Carriger. I especially appreciate her work on clothing and how it expresses sexuality, gender, ethnicity, race, and I loved her article, The Unnatural History and Petticoat Mystery of Bolton and Park, about these cross-dressers who managed to use theater as a defense against a sodomy prosecution, and how it's very interesting to me that Theater can be used to protect people who are members of oppressed minorities and can be used to criticize mainstream society, to critique and criticize and examine the boundaries of mainstream society, such as through practices as cross-dressing, etc. So that would be something you could write up, probably more eloquently than that with the chance to edit it, but that's the kind of thing you can do. So that would be much better than simply saying, I would like to go to UCLA because it is in Los Angeles and it is a major entertainment center and it would be really easy to get a job in the industry because it's right there in LA. One thing you should make sure you do before you have an interview or speak to somebody from the college is find out how to pronounce their name. It doesn't cost money to make long-distance phone calls anymore. You can call the department, ask the department secretary, something like that. Because otherwise you might end up in a situation such as this one.
Mr. Dumbass, I can bring a lot to Dumbass and Dumbass. I'm a go-getter. Dumbass material all the way. So, am I your man, Mr. Dumbass?
The name is Dumas.
So, let's move on to the next. One thing you should make sure you do before you have an interview or speak to somebody from the college is find out how to pronounce their name. It doesn't cost money to make long-distance phone calls anymore. You can call the department, ask the department secretary, something like that. Because otherwise you might end up in a situation such as this one. What works of art or scholarship have dramatically shaped your life? It's very common for colleges to ask about works of art or scholarship, such as books, paintings, movies, plays, dance performances, music, etc., that have influenced the way you think about life. This isn't so much of a test of your taste in literature, music, visual arts, as a test of how you think.
Chucky, Starkiss doesn't want tunas with good taste.
Starkiss wants tunas that taste good.
Sorry, Charlie.
A really insightful analysis of a graphic novel such as The Watchmen or the Rush album 2112, can be as good or better than a glib, superficial, or inaccurate interpretation of a classic such as Hamlet or 1984. 2112, it's about a totalitarian society where music is not valued very much, and someone who finds a guitar and starts playing it brings it to the priests of the temples of Syrinx who tell him, oh, it's useless, and then the society is taken over by people with better taste and wisdom, etc., who come from on high and take over the planet from the temples of Syrinx. That is better than interpreting Hamlet as Hamlet was a guy who was really depressed because his friend Yorick had died, and he thought that maybe his uncle had killed his dad, and so he thought, well, maybe it would be better not to be alive than to be alive. That's not as good. Or 1984. Well, it's about a society where they have TVs that can watch you, kind of like your computer does today if you have a web camera. But it's cool because they get rid of a bad guy named Winston Smith who really tries to screw up the social order. Okay, that would show a really poor understanding of 1984. So an important science journal, same thing, can show your ability to understand the scientific method and think critically, or if you really do a bad job interpreting it, it can show your inability to understand the scientific method and think critically. So, a word of warning, if you're going to discuss something that isn't an obvious classic, make sure you detail the title, author, genre, and summarize the plot points and main theme. Again, you want to make the reader's job as easy as possible. The reader isn't going to try to figure out if you know something or not. You need to make it obvious that you know it. What experiences have dramatically shaped your life? And other questions you've probably answered if you answered the Common App or UC application essays. If you've done the Common Application or the University of California application essays or something similar, you can just revamp those to answer the individual college-specific essay questions. So you can see my 2 videos specific to the Common Application and UC applications. So this is the same slide again, just done in a different way. Basically, what experiences have dramatically shaped your life? You can just kind of, much like this slide, just kind of re-edit what you've already done, make it so it answers the college-specific application, and you'll be fine. And again, just see my 2 videos that are specific to the Common Application and the UC applications. Did the college throw you a curveball essay question? Remember the basics. Some colleges ask a lot of wacky questions. Deep Springs College, no pun intended, springs to mind. They unsolicited sent me an application. It was a bunch of essay questions where you had to write it, and that was basically the whole application, is you had to answer these things. They said, well, I know it may seem like a sadistic trial by typewriter, but it's not. I looked at it and said, yeah, I don't want this. But anyway, if you're going to go to a place that, or you want to go to a place that asks some weird essay questions, just remember the basics. Colleges want people who are innovative, creative thinkers who can see unusual things in everyday experiences, to see what everyone has seen and think what no one else has thought. That was on something I think that my father had gotten at the Toronto Science Center when I was a little kid. I know I saw it lying around the house a lot. Colleges want people who are community-minded. Remember, the college wants you to help it survive, help teach others, do volunteer work, etc. As Machiavelli, I believe, said, the main function of any organization is to survive. So a college wants someone who's going to help it survive. Colleges want people who do research outside the class curriculum. They want people who do independent study, can think independently, can question assumptions, etc. Colleges also want people who have outside interests besides academics. Again, don't be a Charles Whitman. Nobody wants a gunner in their class. And it's a good way to just burn yourself out. If all you do is study, you don't do anything else, you don't take care of your body well enough, you don't do something that's at least fun and lets you relieve stress, you're not going to be as effective because you're not giving yourself the rest and relaxation that you need. Colleges want people who've shown they're serious about attending the college. That, again, show them that you've done your homework, you've looked into the faculty, you've looked into what's taught there, and you'll do a better job. And you might even find that some of these colleges you do want to apply to and other ones you don't. So you could save yourself some trouble and some application fees. I hope this helped. If you have any comments or questions, leave a comment below or contact me at the phone or email at the beginning of this video.
I'd appreciate your input.
If you like this and you want to help me make more videos, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I do in-person and online tutoring for the SAT, ACT, and more. And again, thanks for watching this. Comments are welcome. I reserve the right to edit for relevancy and common courtesy. All right. Hope you're having a good day, evening, or whatever time it is whenever you're watching this. Thanks. Have a good night.